Hi everybody, and welcome to my sewing room. Today we're going to play around a little bit with crazy quilting, so don't go away. We should have a lot of fun. So as I said, I want to play around a little bit with crazy quilting today, but we're going to do it on the sewing machine and use the embroidery machine a little bit in it. But before we get to that, I have something else I wanted to say to you. Yes, the rumors are true. There is a new stellaire sewing machine coming out, and I've already seen some videos on the Brother website, so you can go to the Brother website and see a little bit about it. I've not got my hands on it yet. There will be an upgrade as well as a new machine, so those of you who have the stellaire can go ahead and upgrade that machine, and it looks like it's got a lot of really cool stuff on it, so make sure you keep watching, and as soon as I can get in there and start playing with it, I will let you see some of the neat stuff that is on that sewing machine. But today what I thought we would do is talk just a little bit about what's called crazy quilting. So what does that mean? The word crazy kind of makes you think of bizarre, jumbled, erratic, insane, and that doesn't really, that kind of makes you think of those words when you see the crazy quilts of the late 1800s, which is when they kind of surged and got really big, that women were making crazy quilts. And these quilts would not only had lots of different kinds of shapes all over them, but they also had lots of kinds of fabric in them. They had silks, and they had satins, and they had velvets, and then they put embroidery on top of that, and they put feathers, and they put beads, and they put all sorts of crazy stuff. Here's a picture that I found on the internet of an authentic crazy quilt of the late 1800s. So you can see there was a lot of embellishment on those quilts, but they weren't really crazy or insane or erratic. They were actually thought out squares that women did to kind of express their emotions and their feelings, and they also reflect a whole lot about the history of American 1800s, what was going on in the homes at that time. Women were being a lot more elaborate and a lot more expressive in their decorating, and you saw it in a lot of the different things that were in the houses, like the tablecloths that went across the top of the tables, and in the hats, and a lot of other things that were coming out in those days. And there were magazines that talked about just keep on embellishing, put more decorations on everything. And I think another thing that influenced the women of the late 1800s was Queen Victoria. And let's face it, England has a lot of influence on a lot of American fashions. Queen Victoria was mourning her husband, and she was wearing a lot of dark colors, and she also influenced with the embellishments and the feathers and the decorative stuff. So we were doing that in our homes, and so we started to put it also on our quilts. So it was just a really big surge in that time, and it kind of went away for a little while, and now all of a sudden in the 21st century we are doing a lot of crazy quilts, and it's become really popular. And I think part of that has to do with that we have embroidery machines now, so we can do that kind of thing, and we can also use up those scraps because we don't want to throw the scraps away. One of the things my mother does, and I think it has a lot to do with just her age and what she's doing in her life. She's sewn my entire life. I remember from being a very little girl watching her make doll clothes and make clothes for us and making clothes for all my brothers and sisters. And now she's at a point where she doesn't do all that so much, but she loves to use all the scraps up as much as she can. And this is one of the quilts that she has made. And it is just crazy, crazy, crazy. And she just grabs fabric from a pile and starts sewing it in, and she makes it into it. But she doesn't add embroidery on it. She just kind of sews them together. Sometimes the front and the back is a crazy quilt, just so she can use up all the different fabrics, and then she'll go ahead and she'll just tie them so that she doesn't take away from any of the decorative sewing that's in the quilt. I also have another friend, I've mentioned her, I've had her in my videos before. Her name is Gail, and she's done some crazy quilts just recently. Same thing, just using up some of those scraps that she has. So I'm going to try and put a couple of pictures of some of her quilts up that she has done, and I find them to be very impressive. So I want to do a crazy quilt, but I want to do it so that it is So I want to do a crazy quilt, but I want to do it with using a little bit of the PE Design software to create some of our own motif stitches and do that actually in the embroidery hoop of the machine and add embroidery at the same time. But we're also going to sew on the sewing machine to actually put the initial square together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the PE Design software. I'm going to show where you can find your motif stitches and some of the things you can just go ahead and save that's in the software, and then we're going to put them in our crazy quilt. So first, let's just go to the software. Okay, so here I am in my layout and editing on my PE Design 11, and I have this set up for a smaller hoop. If I go over here to my flower and I go to design settings, you will see that I have an 8x8 hoop in here because I don't want to make it too big. So I'm going to hit cancel. And then what I want to do is I want to come up here to my shapes menu, and I want to choose this stitch, this right here, which it says open straight line. So I'm going to choose that. I'm going to left click and pull down, and then I'm going to double left click. So that's how you get just a plain old straight stitch. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get my select button so that the boxes are around it. So that when I come up here, it will automatically open up the shapes menu, and it says running stitch. If I click the down arrow and change it to a motif stitch, it'll change to the last motif stitch that I did. And if I come over here to the sewing attributes, the motif is already open because I have motif here. If I don't have motif here, change this to a stem stitch, that option is not available to me over here in the sewing attributes anymore. So let's go back to a motif stitch, and now you see it's open here, and I can click on the file, and then I can go down here and I can choose any motif stitch that I think might make a fun stitch in the ditch quilting stitch. And there's a whole bunch of them in here, and they look kind of weird when you look at them here, but once you choose one and say okay, then let's go home and pick the zoom button and zoom. Then that looks like something that you would see in a crazy quilt. So I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to just go ahead and save that. So in order to save it, I have to make sure that it's selected. No, not really. I don't know why I said that. You can click off of it, and then you go up here and you say save as. And then I have a file that I created that's called Motif Stitches, and I'm going to name this 2 and hit save. And I think this line is pretty good, and one of the good things about the stellaire is I can size it to just about any size I want to size it to once I have it in the sewing machine. So I'm just going to, and if you want to know how big this one is, look down here. It looks like it's almost 7 inches in length. So that's probably a little bit longer than I need it to be in order to put it on my crazy quilt, but I'm just going to leave it just that way, and then I'm going to draw another one. Oh, you know what? I didn't need to do that. Let's push undo. There it is. So now that I've got that one, let's just go back over here to motif stitches, and let's choose something else. Let's do this flower here. Say okay. That one's kind of pretty, so I'm going to save that one. Save as. Let's make it number 3 and save that one. And then let's go in here and let's just see. This one here I always think is really pretty. So let's do that one. Yeah, I think that one would be really pretty. And we could do this with a 12-weight thread. So I want to try one with a 12-weight thread and just see what it comes out to look like. So I'm going to do that. Save as. And we're going to call this number 4 and save it there. So I could keep doing that all day, but I think that will get us started. So I'm going to hit delete. Now what I want to do is I want to import patterns from Design Library. And these are the designs that come free with your software. And I wanted to look and see, what do we have in here? We have lace and ribbons. Let's do that. Look how pretty this one is. That one is really pretty, and it would be one of those that you could put on a crazy quilt, especially if you use some of the velvets and stuff that they used to use in the ones from a long time ago. But let's save that one. I'm just going to say save as, and I'm going to call this Snowflake and save. Let's see what else I want. Let's see. Look how pretty this one is. Let's import that one. I like that one. I think it's really pretty. And I can size it in the software. So I'm going to take that one and I'm going to say File, Save As. And let's call it, I'm just going to call it Curly. I think I wrote Cutley. Save. You guys know I can't spell with a darn. It's ridiculous, but it's true. And if you've got some designs that you've purchased from somewhere else that are just really simple little pretty flowers and designs, those are always great to put on a crazy quilt. So I don't think I want to do holidays. Let's go to miscellaneous. Oh, I like this one. That one's pretty. So let's go ahead and save that one too. Okay, so you can see it's not a lot of creating. It's just I'm picking some designs that I think will look good on my crazy quilt. Whoops, I did not mean to do that. Let's hit this. I don't know how my computer does that sometimes. So let's go to the sewing machine and let's put together a crazy quilt square, and then we'll put it in the embroidery machine and we'll make something really pretty with it.
Okay, so truth be told, there's a lot of different ways to make a crazy quilt, and you're going to see lots of different people on the internet telling you different ways to do it. This is the way I do it. So I have a piece of scrap batting that I've cut, and I made it bigger because I'm going to put it in the embroidery machine, so I want it to be able to be held in with the hoop. And then I'm going to take a piece of muslin. And one of the things I showed you my mom's crazy quilts, she uses ugly fabric. That's what she calls it. Fabric that people have given her that she's not going to use for anything else, and she uses that as the foundation piece for her crazy quilting. And then you're going to use lots of different kinds of scrap fabrics. So these are all from my scrap bin, and there's no rhyme or reason to them. And there is going to come a time when maybe you want to do a crazy quilt where all the fabrics actually don't clash with each other like mine do right here. And that's fine. There's no reason, there's no rules. And you could make them with silks and satins and velvets like they used to do a long time ago. And speaking of a long time ago in the 1800s, most of the time those did not have batting in them. They were just like coverlets that you put over the top of the bed, and sometimes they draped them over tables. So they didn't put batting or any kind of filler in it, and they were fairly thin. So you have to make the decision. Do you want to put batting in it now, or do you want to put batting in it after you're completely finished with it and you put the back on it, and then you could stitch in the ditch, or you could just tie the corners like my mother does, or however you want to put those layers together. But I want to put the batting in now, put the muslin down, and then when I put the backing on the quilt when it's completely finished, I will just tack each one of the corners. And I will probably not go to the edge so I can trim some of the batting off so that as I put it together, it doesn't get really bulky in the corners. But right now we're going to start with this. And I think what I want to do is I want to put this rose one, because it's kind of a square, right in the center. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece like this piece here, which is just a crazy square, and I'm going to lay it across the top. And this is a lot kind of like crumb piecing, but the difference is that we're going to go in different directions. So I'm going to just put those right sides together. I'm going to put my sewing foot right here, and I want, mine is actually not in the center, so let's go ahead and let's just put it in the center. I don't have to worry about quarter-inch seams in this because I'm just doing crazy shapes all over it. So I'm just going to sew a straight stitch. Oh, it says check the threading. Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, sorry about that. I had to go away there. My machine was doing something weird, but I just needed to rethread it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I could take it to the iron and press this open, but I'm just going to finger press it open like that. So now I have two pieces put together. So now I have another piece, and I could just go ahead and do a straight line here, but this is a crazy quilt. So let's do something different. Let's put it like at an angle like that. So I am going to make sure that I get this little corner filled in on that, and I'm going to put it at an angle and sew it this way. Hit the cutter and push it this way. I like that. I think that looks pretty good. So let's do another one. Let's do, so this brown is a little bit strange, but let's put it here. Put it there. And you can see I have a whole lot of wasted fabric over here to the side, but I don't really care. I'm using up scraps. Get the cutter. Smooth it out. There we go. So let's put this piece here. Well, that's more for a corner piece. Let's put, I have this great big long piece that I used for binding at one point or another. I think I'm going to put it across here. This makes some people who are very precise a little crazy because you don't worry about quarter-inch seams, you don't worry about sizing. So if you're a real precise person, you got to kind of let your inhibitions go and kind of enjoy the moment. So there's that one there. And now I think maybe I got this big piece of red, and I think I'm going to take this red and I'm going to lay it across here. And that should cover up that corner, but I have another corner right here that kind of needs to be filled in a little bit. So I think I'm going to put this blue piece right here. And spread it that way. And then I've got a weird piece right here that I need to fill in. So what I'm going to do is I have, this is a fairly large piece of blue, and I'm going to take it and put it at an angle going across this way. and I see the edge of my muslin is probably about right here. Well, if I do that, I just took out all that blue that I just put in there. Huh. Well, let's do this. Let's go there. Let's see what happens. Oh, I like that. I think it looks pretty. So then I could keep working out this way and fill up that square, and keep working and fill up that square. And I will take it to the embroidery machine and we'll play around with that a little bit. But I did want to mention just real quickly here, if you don't have an embroidery machine, if you just want to do it on your sewing machine, this is a good time to maybe add some lace. So this has got this is a piece of scrap lace that I have in my stash. That it's kind of like an heirloom lace. So what if I took this and just laid it right there, right across the part where this seam comes to this seam, and I stitched it in place right there? Wouldn't that be fun? And you don't need to use a fancy stitch. You can use a zigzag stitch, or better yet, the 3-part zigzag stitch I've showed you before in future in prior videos. I'll take a picture of it on this screen so you can see what I'm talking about. But the 3-part zigzag does a great job, especially if you match your threads really well so people can't see them, of putting lace down. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to thread my machine with 12-way thread. And 12-way thread is just a really thicker thread. I know you can't see it on the video. If I put it down here on here, you might be able to see it a little bit better. But regular sewing weight is 40 weight. This is 12 weight. So with thread, the lower the number, the thicker the thread. So a 12-weight thread is definitely thicker, probably 3 times thicker than a regular 40-weight embroidery thread or sewing thread. So I'm going to thread my machine with this 12-weight thread. And whenever you use 12-weight thread, always use a top stitch needle because it has a bigger eye. And then I'm going to use my needle threader to thread it and pull it through. And I have also wound a bobbin with this. Now I have done it without winding a bobbin with it. Just try and match the color as closely as you possibly can, because if it pulls up, you won't like the results of seeing that color on the top. But if you do wind a bobbin of with the same thread, remember the trick that I told you before. Always make your tension tighter. It sounds a little bit silly to make your tension tighter for thicker thread, but it actually works better. And I've gone all the way up to 6.5, I think is a good one. So we're going to put it here, and I'm going to choose a decorative stitch, and I'm going to just stitch right in the ditch here with my thicker thread. And I probably should have my N foot on here instead of my J foot, because it moves better when I'm doing back and forth decorative stitching. Okay, so my machine kind of broke that thread. I don't know what happened. It got a little bit fussy, but that's okay. I'm going to show you my results. I have a white thread there. Hopefully you can see how pretty that thread looks in stitching in the ditch with that. And it just stands out a little bit more, almost looks like hand embroidery. So I really like the results of that. It came out really pretty. And you could do all of your stitching in the ditch in every way on this with your sewing machine. But we're going to go to the embroidery machine, and we're going to try and do it on the embroidery machine and see what the results are with that. Okay, so I have gone ahead and I've hooped my crazy quilt. I went ahead and I finished it up with some more fabrics that are on here, and then I hooped it in the largest hoop and used the app to scan it so that I brought it into the embroidery part. We're not going into my design center. We're going to do this in the embroidery part of the machine. So we're going to hit embroidery, and then if I
put a design on there, it should automatically open my image. So I'm going to go into here, and I have in my motif stitches is where I saved that at, and here's all my different motif stitches. So let's just choose the first one. And I'm doing this cold. I haven't even practiced this yet. I don't know what it's going to come out to look like, but let's see what happens. We're going to set it down, and then it says the image was sent from the mobile app, and I want to bring the image in, and it's warning me it's going to move, and then my original image should just pop up there. And then what I'm going to do is, here's my embroidery design, and you can't see it very good because it's black. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to hit edit, and we're going to make it white so that I can see it. I want to be able to see what it looks like. So say okay. So here's my design, and I just wanted to show you something before I start to do this. If I go into I'm going to push add, and remember these designs are in here, and they work really well if you want to do a straight line. So let's say I wanted to do this one right here and set it down, and let's make that one white as well. Okay, so here's my design right here. And I'm going to hit this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the plus sign, and I've created this. I'm going to do a practice right here in front of everybody. I want to look at this, turn the image off, so I can kind of see what I'm doing here. So let's go back into edit, and I'm going to change this to like a bright pink so you can see it. So this would work really good for exactly what we're doing, right? To be able to put that on something. But the problem is, the moment I hit rotate, and I rotate it, look at what it does. It rotates them all separately. It doesn't rotate them together. And if you know a way to fix that, I would really like to know about it, because I have not been able to figure out how to do that so that I can rotate them together. So that's why I did not do it this way in the machine, even though I could do it pretty easily, and put it in, stitch it in the ditch in the straight ones. So let's just I'm trying to do this from the side so that I can see what I'm doing, and because I'm doing that I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to delete that one, and then let's go ahead and turn the image back on again, and here it is right here. And now what I can do is I can rotate this. Let's do, and then I can put it right here, and it doesn't quite fit, but that's okay, because I'm going to push edit, and I'm going to hit size, and I'm going to make it a little bigger and make it so it fits right in that spot right there. And I can sew that out any color I want. Now that I have it there, I can add whatever color I want to do. So I'm going to say okay and add, and then go back into my stick, and oops, I didn't mean to go to back pocket. Let's go back, motif stitches, and here's another one that I created in the software, and I'm going to hit set, and then let's edit that, and let's push color. Let's make it yellow. Okay, and let's put it, I want to put it here in this little tiny space. So what I want to do is I'm going to push size, and then I'm going to push this one that will allow it to readjust the stitches and make it small. Whoops, how did I do that? Okay, that one really doesn't fit there. Let's try over here. Let's rotate, edit, rotate. And let's put it here. That's perfect. That works really good. So I could continue to do that in all the different spots and fit the ones that fit where I want them to fit. And then I'm also going to say add, go back into my stick, and remember we saved under the motif stitch mode some of these really pretty things right here. So I'm going to take that one and set it down. It is blue. Let's see. Let's edit, rotate. That kind of fits right there. Really not, you know what? I think I want it over here. Let's rotate 90 degrees and then maybe another 10. And let's size that. Shoot, I forgot it moves all the way back to where it was when I first brought it in. Let's put that right there. Isn't that pretty? And if you want to see it a little bit better, let's just change this dark blue color here to a green. So there you can see it a little bit better. See what it looks like right there. I'll embroider it out in whatever color I feel like embroidering it out. But let's push add and then go into my stick again. Motif stitches. Let's do this snowflake. Set that down. Ooh, that's bigger than I thought it was. Edit, size. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Let's put that right there. I can rotate this. I just want it to fit in the brown a little bit better so I can embroider that out.
So while I've been playing with this just a little bit, I've had an idea that I thought would be fun. I added a few more stitch in the ditch designs on here, but what I think I want to do now is I'm going to push add. And if you go into this menu that I showed you a little bit earlier, again, I don't think these work very good, but this is your buttonhole designs, and they're made to go around just to add a little bit of bling to your buttonholes, and I don't know that I would ever use them for that, but they are small designs, so they're kind of fun to use for different things. And I'm going to take this flower one and I'm going to set it down, and here it is right here. And what if I took it and put it right here and hit edit, rotate, and then just stuck it right in the ditch there. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Minus. I'm going to just do these, rotate this 1 degree at a time and put it right there. I think that's really pretty there. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just kind of playing around, seeing what would fit in different places. I might want to put something else right here, but I want to just go ahead and continue to play with this, and then I'm going to embroider out, and I'll show you what my quilt square comes out to look like when I'm all finished.
Okay, so it suddenly occurred to me that I should probably show you how I do this, and those of you who watch me all the time will probably laugh because I obviously make lots of mistakes. But anyway, here is my crazy quilt laid out on my cutting table, and you can see it goes all different ways. I got fabric coming out here and fabric coming out here and fabric coming out everywhere. So I need to square this up, and my goal is a 12.5 by 12.5 square, so I actually have a 12.5 by 12.5 ruler, and I can move this around because I've got the batting bigger than the size of the quilt square, so I can put it wherever I want to do, even if it doesn't end up where the end of the muslin is. It's going to be fine. So I think this is a pretty good, because I've got all the embroidery I did in here and everything else, so I'm going to just lean into this and go ahead and cut this away. Sometimes I switch from left hand to right hand, but I'm not really good at it. I'm better just sticking with my left hand. Let's take that part away. Take that part away. I don't know why I've got a part right here that doesn't seem to want to cut. Okay, there we go. So, what do we got? We have a really pretty embroidered crazy quilt square. And I'll show you a little bit more close up on some of the other parts in a minute. Okay, so here I am back in my sewing room, and as you just saw, I finished up my crazy quilt, and I wanted you to see just a little bit closer some of the things that are on it. So I did not do that snowflake that I put on it. I actually put this little seahorse that's in the machine. If you have a stellaire, you have it in your machine. I didn't like it so much. So it's a very good tip that if you're going to use a design that you haven't sewn out before, sew it out on a piece of scrap first before you put it on your pretty quilt, because then you'll always look at it and go, oh, I didn't like that. But that's okay. I'm going to be all right with it. But I did like the way all of the crazy quilt stitches showed up. The decorative stitches, I'm going to put this, hopefully you can see. They're very three-dimensional. There's the pretty embroidery design that I added. The lace that's on there, you can hardly tell how I connected it with just regular white thread. So, you know, it's just a really fun little square, and you could make an entire quilt with it if you wanted to. And one of the things I should have done is I should have left the edges not sewn so that I could go back and trim the batting off of it, so when I go to put it together into a bigger quilt, I won't have the batting making bulk in the corners. I'm going to have to figure that out, how I end up putting it together in the end so that I don't have batting in the corners. I'll probably rip out a little bit of each corner and then trim 1/2 inch off, so when I sew it together it comes out the way I want it to. And then I'll put a back on it and just stitch in the ditch, or just tack the corners down and have a nice finished crazy quilt. So that video kind of matches the whole theme of crazy, because I think it was a little bit crazy. It was a little bit experimental, but I think we had some fun doing it. I hope that you will try to do a crazy quilt yourself. You don't have to have an embroidery machine. Just use some of the fun stitches that are built into your sewing machine and just have a lot of fun with it, and get rid of that stash of scraps that you've got sitting in a bag somewhere, and end up with something fun and pretty that you can put on your bed. So I hope you had fun with this video, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. What do you mean? My computer is plugged in, isn't it? Oh, there we go. Okay. So while I've been playing with this just a little bit, I've had an idea that I thought would be fun. I added a few more stitch in the ditch designs on here, but what I think I want to do now is I'm going to push add, and if you go into this menu that I showed you a little bit earlier, again I don't think these work very good, but this is your buttonhole designs, and they're made to go around just to add a little bit of bling to your buttonholes, and I don't know that I would ever use them for that, but they are small designs, so they're kind of fun to use for different things. And I'm going to take this flower one and I'm going to set it down, and here it is right here. And what if I took it and put it right here and hit edit, rotate, and then just stuck it right in the ditch there. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Minus. I'm going to just do these, rotate this 1 degree at a time and put it right there. I think that's really pretty there. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just kind of playing around, seeing what would fit in different places. I might want to put something else right here, but I want to just go ahead and continue to play with this, and then I'm going to embroider out, and I'll show you what my quilt square comes out to look like when I'm all finished. Okay, so it suddenly occurred to me that I should probably show you how I do this, and those of you who watch me all the time will probably laugh because I obviously make lots of mistakes. But anyway, here is my crazy quilt laid out on my cutting table, and you can see it goes all different ways. I got fabric coming out here and fabric coming out here and fabric coming out everywhere. So I need to square this up, and my goal is a 12.5 by 12.5 square. So I actually have a 12.5 by 12.5 ruler, and I can move this around because I've got the batting bigger than the size of the quilt square, so I can put it wherever I want to do, even if it doesn't end up where the end of the muslin is. It's going to be fine. So I think this is a pretty good, because I've got all the embroidery I did in here and everything else. So I'm going to just lean into this and go ahead and cut this away. Sometimes I switch from left hand to right hand, but I'm not really good at it. I'm better just sticking with my left hand. Let's take that part away. Take that part away. I don't know why I've got a part right here that doesn't seem to want to cut. Okay, there we go. So, what do we got? We have a really pretty embroidered crazy quilt square. And I'll show you a little bit more close up on some of the other parts in a minute.